Hello, and welcome to our very first training with Freelance with Erica. Today, I am going to help you figure out what your freelance ready skills are. This is probably the number one thing that keeps people from ever trying freelancing, which is either assuming that you have no skills that you can offer as a freelancer or getting too overwhelmed with so many different options. So in this training, I'm going to walk you through and I'm going to show you how we can map your past job experiences, your skills, your natural talents, your personality, as well as even your work preferences, and how we can translate that into freelance ready services that you can begin offering right away. If that sounds interesting to you, next week our training is going to be on how you can land your very first client and earn your first five-star review. I'm calling it the 10 days to paid challenge. When you use the free tool that I'm going to give you today on the results page, there is an option for you to join the challenge. So I'll point that out as we go through the training, but I want to make sure you know that that's what's coming next week. I'm so excited for the people that have already raised their hand and joined our free community. Welcome. It's so nice to informally be meeting you through this training. And with that, I am going to do the best I can to keep these trainings coming to get you up and running as quickly as possible. I've already had some people that are like, can't I start right now? And I wish that I already had everything already. But as I mentioned in the welcome email, I'm still working my regular one-to-one client job that keeps my bills paid. So I'm doing all of this in my free time, and I'm doing it all for free. So you have my commitment. I'm going to try and get you up and going as quickly as I can. My goal is in a month or less, you will be up and already landing your first clients, getting some extra money coming in. And then as we go, I'm just going to keep on adding more and more high value training so that we can get you ramped up as quickly as possible. Okay. So if you're new here, if we haven't met, let me do a quick introduction. At some point, I will do a more in-depth, just because there's a lot to share and I don't want to talk at you for 30 minutes telling you my past story. But if we haven't met yet, my name's Erica Nall. I'm a top 1% Upwork freelancer, which is out of more than 18 million freelancers on Upwork. So I worked in healthcare and I ended up becoming a sales copywriter. So if you're feeling like what you do now does not nicely translate into a freelance service, you need to look no further than my story to see that you don't have to have experience in a directly relatable job in order to go ahead and get your start and be very, very successful at what you do in freelancing. Okay. At my job back in 2020, I worked on the administrative side in healthcare and I had chronic illness. I was really, really not doing well with that chronic illness. It's a pain disorder. It was causing fatigue, all sorts of problems. I had always been an amazing, stellar employee, always had gotten promoted in the jobs that I had. And it was just wreaking havoc on my professional life to the point that I actually became suicidal. And when I went to my employer and finally asked for help, looking for accommodations with more flexibility in my schedule, wanting to be able to work remotely from home, it was the first time I'd ever done that during the pandemic. And I found that it was really helping my symptoms, especially my flare-ups, because I was a lot less stressed. I'm an introvert, so being in my home environment, at home with my family, was really helping with my symptoms. And that employer, who I had worked for a number of years and had taken on multiple departments for them to help with all their problem areas, their response was that I could just close my door on bad days. And then the other accommodation was I could pre-schedule, I could pick one day a week to work remotely. So if any of you have had chronic illness, you know that like it doesn't pencil itself onto your schedule. So obviously that was a big wake up call for me, that even in the face of having been hospitalized for suicidal ideation, for experiencing the chronic illness and giving so much of myself to an employer, to have that be the response, that was the moment that I quit my job. And luckily my husband, he was our provider during that time. And I spent about 3 years chasing passive income offers, right? A lot of you probably have also had that experience. All these promises of all this big money that you can get. I took the courses, I joined the memberships, I stood up a blog to do affiliate marketing, right? And I made a few $100s here or there, nothing life-changing, nothing that was anything near the results, right, that these people got. And what I learned through that process is that this is also directly relatable to freelancing, is that the people who sell those sorts of offers, it's not that they didn't get those results. I think a lot of them did, but it's that they took the time and went through the grind to become an expert at what they do. And because they took that time to become the expert, they have the results, they have the testimonials, and they have the expertise that make people naturally magnetize and gravitate towards them to want to do work with them. So the difference is when you or I, who are complete beginners, who don't have that experience, don't have that expertise, don't have the results, don't have the testimonials, don't have the client list, right? Instead, we're almost in like fake it till you make it mode, trying to put ourselves out there, trying to shortcut the process that that person went through, which many times was years of working and becoming an expert at what they did. And instead, we want those immediate results. And that's why very rarely, just like diet ads, you know, where you see the 1% who lose 200 pounds and are like amazingly successful, and most people don't get those results. It's the exact same thing. Okay. But what ended up, so when I translated my experience, right? So I was, again, working in healthcare, copywriting. Writing is actually not one of my strongest strengths. Instead, where my strengths are is I'm a very strategic thinker. I'm very creative. At the time, AI was just coming out on the market. And this was back again when I was like doing my blog posting and trying these passive income things. So I was playing with AI. I love new technology. So I was learning AI. I was using it to write my blog posts when I was trying to do affiliate marketing. I was taking all those courses. And in those courses, they were teaching me things like how to make a sales page or how to do an email, right? I wasn't great at any of those things, but I at least had some baseline knowledge. And that was my starting point for realizing, yeah, there may not be compliance work, or at least much compliance work or privacy work on Upwork for me to do that's a direct translation from what I was doing to where I'm headed. But there was a ton of copywriting work, especially in that sales area. Oh, and I also I had worked sales positions in the past, in my way back past, and I was very good at it, but I hated it. Okay. And I hated it because I'm an introvert. And so it was way too much peopling, right? But I was still skilled at it. I understood sales. Sales is really just a system, it's a repeatable process. And so for me to be able to take all of that combination of different aspects about my personality, things that I learned about what I liked and what I didn't, right? That started to translate into me realizing, wait, if I could leverage AI to help me with the parts that I feel self-conscious about in my writing, like having proper grammar, but I could bring in my creativity and my strategy and my sales knowledge and combine it with the baseline knowledge that I've learned in these courses, there might be something here, right? And so then that's where I started to dabble. So that's what I want to walk you through here today, is just like how I said, how I spent like 3 years chasing that passive income. I'm going to share my screen here with you. I want to take just a minute to show you what my expectation is when it comes to you picking a freelance service that's going to help set you up for success, that it probably looks a bit different because than what you might be expecting. Because a lot of people, when they try it and then many times will quit because they're not getting the results that they want, they're trying to go from 0 to 100 very quickly, just like people who buy the courses for the passive income, right? They don't want to go through that grind that happens in between. So here is what that actually looks like in practice. Okay. So I'm going to draw us a little picture here. So you guys have probably heard, of like the 80-20 rule, right? Which is like 80% of your employees drive 20% of the revenue, or 20% of your effort drives 80% of the results you're going to get. Okay. This isn't like the most beautiful little picture here, but this will help you get the idea. So when it comes to freelancing, where I'm going to help you with starting and then making progress, don't judge my artistic abilities here, guys, is we are going, when you start, bear with me here, it's going to feel like a very upside down process. Okay. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Can I make an arrow? Maybe. Can you tell I'm not great at multitasking? I'm trying to draw this and talking at the same time is not working well for me. So let me just get our little awesome graphic going here. Okay, so when you start freelancing, you are starting at the top of this funnel. And the goal is that over time, as you're going to gain experience and expertise in what you do, just like I was talking about with that person who eventually is the person selling you the course, making the millions of dollars, selling the dream, right? They started up here at the top too, and then they worked their way down. Okay. And so with this is what this actually looks like. So in freelancing, and I specifically am going to teach you Upwork because I believe Upwork is the fastest platform for you to start making some really significant money over time. I'll get into that more in a different video later, but they have high level niches that they roll things into. So it might be a niche of writing, right? And underneath writing, there's lots of different services. It might be a niche of like web design and development, and underneath that, a lot of different services. Okay. So you're going to start when you first start doing freelancing, you are going to start with a very high level open-ended niche. Okay. Open playground for you to try a lot of different things. So I'm going to use my own here, right? So writing. So writing was the first category. Then once you get your first few wins, once you get those first few wins and you start to be able to apply for more competitive jobs, more specialized jobs, and also as you experiment, you're going to figure out what you like and what you don't, right? So as you figure out what you're liking, so on purpose, I'm going to have you start very broad within your category, and your first several $1,000s, you're going to be experimenting, right? So you might do writing, and within writing, there's lots of different things you could do, right? There's technical writing, writing policies, writing SOPs. There's creative writing, right? You could be doing sales copywriting. You could be writing for websites. You could be doing blogs. There are product descriptions, stuff for e-commerce shops. There's writing ads for people. There's literally so many different writing niches that you can do. Editing, people do copy editing, right? And so what I want you to do is that if you find, once you're done with this training and you use the tool, and if you find that writing might be the niche that you're in, we're going to explore that during your first many few jobs so that you can start to figure out, ooh, I really seem to like doing the more technical writing versus, like the creative writing, or maybe I really love writing YouTube scripts. Like you never had like any idea that was going to be, right? So for me, once I started doing it, I realized that copywriting versus like editing was definitely where I was landing. Then after the copywriting, I started to realize, you know what, I really enjoy sales copywriting. Here, let's not use me. Let's say instead you start doing copywriting and you realize you like blogs, like you really are enjoying writing blogs and articles, right? So now with this, what's happening is when you are competing up here in this top level, you are competing with the most amount of people in this level, right? Because no one's an expert at that point. So during this point, when you're up here, this is when your income is going to be the lowest. So you're going to be charging the least amount of money, but you're going to be competing with the most amount of people during that time, right? And so this is why it feels really frustrating to a lot of people, because you're trying to kind of cut through the noise, and you're having to put in a lot of effort for not a whole lot of money, right? But as you work your way down, as you start to figure out and specialize, and as you do this, and the reason why you can't just skip ahead, so like we're doing blogs and articles, let's say here, now you learned how to really become like an SEO specialist within blog or articles. So again, that's a specialization even further. And now let's say, okay, you're like writing blogs and articles, you're an SEO specialist, but now you found even within that a very specific type of client that you like working with. And that type of client is, let's say, people who have podcasts or YouTube creators that you really love, taking their videos that they're doing and turning them into SEO optimized blog posts that help drive organic traffic to their podcast, to their YouTube videos, right? So as you can imagine, someone who's just out here randomly being like, sure, I'll write 10 product descriptions for you. Sure, I'll write an email for you, right? Like you're competing against the most amount of people at that point. But then as you start to specialize, so now you've specialized into really learning your craft, and so you don't have to know it all on day one, right? You're starting up here, but as you go, you're going to learn and you're going to get better and better. And so then once you start to realize I really love doing blog posts, that's when you can really start to educate yourself. And there's so much free content out there to teach you how to do these things. And especially AI. AI is an amazing teacher. You can make it be your coach. Any course out there you can take, AI can teach you. If you just ask it, I want you to act as my coach. Teach me how to write SEO optimized blog posts and articles. And it will coach you through everything that you need to do, right? And so you're going to learn these skills as you go. But once you start specializing in blogs and articles, and then with that, you have happy clients leaving you great testimonials, right? Talking about how great you are at this, it's going to be easier and easier for you to, one, land those jobs, and two, start charging more money as you work your way through here. Now, if you're looking at this and you're like, well, this doesn't sound very exciting. You're telling me this is going to be really hard and a lot of effort. So this is also effort here. So over on this side is your effort. So your effort is going to be the highest when you are first starting. You're going to have to put in applications for jobs. You're going to have to put in quite a few applications to land your first jobs because you don't yet have the experience. You don't have the clients and the testimonials behind you. You don't have those positive reviews that you can use and leverage. You don't have results yet that you're creating that you can show. So it's going to be a high amount of effort when you first start. But the irony is that as you work your way down, it's going to become very low effort as you become a specialist in what you do. So not only are you charging that premium rate that you're making, but you also are putting in a lot less effort. So let me show you what this looks like, what this looked like for me in action. So I started Upwork the first time in 2019 when I was still working my job. I was having my chronic illness. And I thought maybe this is a good way for me to find a path because my employer was pretty rigid and not wanting to allow anything like remote work or flexibility with it. And so I started dabbling with that in 2019 and I ended up quitting for the exact reasons I'm talking about here. I had no strategy. I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing a spray and pray method, just applying literally to anything and everything. And it felt like such a grind and I couldn't see the end result. I couldn't see it getting me to the point that it could have been a full-time income. And so I quit. Okay. But when I came back in 2023, so again, I spent 3 years fussing around doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing. Then my husband lost his job unexpectedly after 25 years. And my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. And that really lit a fire in me. And we decided at that point, one, we wanted to travel to be with family, and two, that I needed to get more serious rather than just dabbling in stuff and actually create an income and a career again. And so that's when I returned to Upwork. And that time I had a strategy. I took it much more seriously, but it basically was like restarting all over again from ground zero. So I started despite the fact that my previous job was a 6-figure job. So 50 plus an hour is what $100,000 a year is. Okay. So even though I was easily before making 50 plus an hour, and even though I have lots of great experience that people should be paying me for way more than $15 an hour, $15 an hour is where I started. Despite that, because you are competing in this huge, massive pool, you don't have the proven experience, so you're not ready to start charging those premium rates yet. But the good news is you can walk this rate up so fast, okay? So I'm just going to show you. Oh, that is not what we wanted. I'm going to show you what this looked like for me. So I think, yeah, this was 75. And then here. Okay. So I started off at $15 an hour. When I came back, it was the end of 2023. I think it was like September of 2023. I came back, I was doing $15 an hour was what was on my profile. I think I was taking little like flat fee service jobs for like 20 bucks here, 25 bucks there, just to start to get the momentum. Okay. So this was in, like I said, September. This is going off my screen a little bit, but you guys get the idea. So this is in September. By I looked at this yesterday and I should have written it down. I want to say it was by February. And actually, I think it was 85, not 75. Because once I hit around 85 was when I started to feel things to start to top out. And so we'll get to this. This is more advanced for later. So I don't want you to worry about this right now. But as you start to approach about like that $100 an hour, you'll still find people who will happily pay that money and some people that will pay ultra premium prices. Right now, I have $333 an hour on my profile, and I still get invites to this day that people invite me at that rate. Okay. So, but what I noticed was as far as volume, that as you specialize, you're also going to have fewer and fewer people looking for your very specific sort of niche. So the more you specialize, you're actually almost working your way out of being a freelancer on Upwork and moving yourself towards a full-blown business that you can take off platform. But from September to February, I walked it from 15 to 85, and that $50 an hour, which again would have been equivalent to what I was making in my my 8 to 5 job. I think by like December, not even that, it might even been November. So we're talking it was a few months that I was basically, I had walked it from my starting point to replacing what I was making before, to then easily still billing at a high enough volume at that 85. And then as I started to realize that the demand was lower, I had some really great high quality clients that I was landing, but it wasn't at the volume that I was doing before, is when I made the decision to move my business offline. And I actually pivoted it at that point to where I had taken all this great experience, all these great testimonials that I had gotten, all these happy clients. And instead, by that point, I had learned a lot more. And this is the great part about like, you don't have to know everything yet. I had no idea I was going to land where I did. But through the process of doing this, I met a wonderful coach. She was dream client, realized I really enjoyed working with coaches and consultants. And she hired me to do an email sequence for her. I did that email sequence. She had created a course wasn't selling well. She wanted some help with these emails. And she and I just quickly became friends. And I realized what we started talking through was that she really had some gaps in her like operations and her strategy and the back end. And part of what I used to do in my corporate career was a lot of operations work. I had, lean certifications. I was a director of operations. In one job, in my healthcare job, even though my title was in compliance, really what I was doing was I was fixing broken or creating non-existent departments from the ground up because I'm really good at systems and operations. But at the time, I had no idea how that translated into something. I had looked at like project management, but I don't love project management. And so it's like I didn't know how that translated, but there's actually a whole position with a lot of demand online called online business managers. So she'd encouraged me to look into being an online business manager. Once I did, it definitely was a partial fit, but not quite exactly what I love doing, which I love more the actual building than managing the project management, doing that high level. So I ended up coming on with her and helping her build out her very first membership, helping her build out her courses, her sales pages, where I was able to marry my copywriting experience with actually executing the back end and building. And so this is one of the other things too, where as you're working your way down towards specializing, the more you can stack, especially like complementing skills. So not just copywriting, but I also can help you execute it through the systems. That makes you able to charge more, and it makes you more of an expert where it's harder for other people to compete with you, right? And so the more that you can find ways to cut yourself out into a space where less and less people can directly compete with you because you have more skills, because you have this unique sort of service that you can offer that fewer and fewer people can charge, that allows you to get up to this higher rate. So when I left Upwork, charging it around like $85 an hour, which again was significantly higher than what I was making in my 8 to 5. Once I moved into this even more specialized space, now what I called myself was an online business architect. I started working with coaches, helping them with their strategy, their sales, their systems, and helping with everything from the copywriting to the actual execution. How do you automate things? How do you set up your memberships, right? And then I was able to start charging really premium prices for the work that I did because it was so specialized and hard for those people to find within their industry. So that is what I want for you too, okay? But I want you to have a really clear idea of what you're looking at when you get started. I don't want you to think you're going to come in and just immediately be like, I'm an SEO expert, and because I am, I'm going to charge you $60 an hour because you see SEO jobs out there and you're like, I can figure that out, right? Because you're going to hop in trying to compete down here with people who have gone through the process, who have earned their reviews, who have lots of experience, and who are experts at what they do. And chances are you're not there yet. Unless that is what you're already doing as a job and you have proven expertise, then by all means, we will jump down the funnel and we will start you at that higher price point with that experience. But for most of you, I want you to really be open at starting with a really broad scope of where you're going to start, and be open to letting the process help you figure out where you're going to best fit. Okay. So here is what that looks like. I've created this tool for you, which I'm going to drop the link down below. Okay. And this is a quick assessment. It's 12 questions. There are quite a few answers because I'm trying to map you to all these different broad niche sorts of offers, and the number of people who are coming into this free community are going to come from such varied backgrounds, right? So I have to be able to try and account for everyone. So I apologize that there's a bunch of answers, but I did try to make it easy for you just to be able to just click on the questions, okay? So I'm not going to, you're capable of reading. I'm not going to read through every single one of these, but like I said, these questions are going to walk you through what are your natural skills? What do you have job experience in already? Where are your talents? What are your work preferences? How do you like to work? What's your personality like? Like, it's asking all those sorts of different questions so that it can help put you into a good starting point. Okay. So I'm just going to randomly click here. You'll see down here, like, you can select up to 3. You don't have to select all 3 if there's only 1 or 2. I also put options down here, like maybe they don't apply to you yet. That's fine too. Okay. So just, obviously you'll take time to read through this and click on the answers, but for the sake of this, just click your buttons. And then I'm not even reading these. I'm just putting these in because you can read them. This is asking about like, what tools do you maybe already have experience in? That's also a really great way to specialize, is that once you get going, depending on the niche you choose, if it happens to be one where there's very specific tools where there's high demand, or pieces of software. So maybe like Kajabi, which does like course management for coaches. If you can become a specialist in certain tools, that is one really good way to move yourself down the funnel and to really separate yourself, because you become super experienced and a specialist within that. Okay, so again, I'm not really reading these. I'm just checking things so that we can get you to the results page and you can see what that looks like. So you'll go through here, you'll select your options. Okay, and then when you get done, you're going to see one of 8 different profiles of what sort of person you are. So based on my random things I just selected, this one, it put me in the connector as my primary, and the multilingual bridge. So the multilingual bridge one, that's not going to be for very few people. That's going to be for people who are like dual or like language skilled, to where you're very fluent. There is a lot of translation work. And so you'll see some questions in there that as you do it, where it talks about like, I'm good at connecting, people across different languages. For most of you, that may not be the case, but if that is a skill that you have, that is something that people pay good money for, is to have translation services in a range of different types of ways that you could do that. So in this example that came up, but what this is going to do is it's going to tell you as a connector What I want you to focus on are these three areas underneath. So customer service, sales and marketing, and human resources. Okay. So again, I didn't go through and actually put in my real preferences. If when I do mine, I come up as the builder is my first one. And I think like the tech guru was number 2 for me. I've gotten the connector before in past too, based on like my experience. So you're going to look at these top 3 that are coming up. You're also going to see some examples of specializations. Those examples are the tip of the iceberg. By no means are you limited to those. And you're going to see that we're going to do a little activity after this. This will be your homework that you're going to do that's going to help you go explore what those specializations might look like. So again, going back to specializing as you move down. So you don't need to know exactly what this process looks like for you right now, but I do want you to start getting curious about it. And I want you to start thinking through what might you be interested in a specialization. You're not going to start there. We're going to start up at the top, but I want you to start getting a good idea so that one, you know what sort of jobs you're going to test applying for so that you can start to figure out, do I like that or don't I? Right. And so that you can be familiar with where are the skills gaps if there are certain things you're super interested in, where you can start doing some learning, doing some exploring, watching some YouTube videos, using AI to help you with maybe some of those gaps, right? So through this process, I want you to look here. So this will, again, just a gut feeling, just read through it and be like, does that sound interesting or not, right? It's going to help you get a start of whether or not that might be a good idea for you. And then you also have a secondary one. So if you look at those first ones and none of those are hitting, come down here to your secondary and it'll show you like translation services, customer service, and writing. So what I want you to do from here is you'll see here's your homework, is this research worksheet, which I'm going to walk you through here in a minute. You just click this button, it'll make a copy for you. You'll also see that I have a prompt here for you that if you want, if you're an overachiever and you're ready to get going, once you do the research worksheet, you can use this prompt to help AI to help coach you into one, helping you about what sorts of search terms might you be looking for in beginner jobs based on what you're interested in, and what sorts of skills should you start to prioritize learning if you have a gap between what you're interested in versus where your current skills are at. Okay. Then I want to take you down a little bit further. And in this section, most of you getting this training are already in the free community, but if you're not, make sure you hit this button, join my free community. There's a group chat. You get a weekly training just like this one that's going to walk you through so that you can get started in freelancing. Right here is our 10 days to paid challenge. If you are interested in doing that, sign up here. You will get the normal push email next week with the training. But what this is going to do for you is this is going to put it in a 10-day drip so that every day it's broken down into what your daily tasks are to make it easier for you. Okay. And then this last one is for my more detailed people, to where obviously a diagnostic like this, 12 questions, you checking some boxes, it's going to get you pointed in a good general direction. And I did this because I know a lot of people have a very short attention span, okay? So me asking you to take time to really go through and thoughtfully answer the questions that I really would want you to answer, which are these. So you're going to click that button, and this is going to give you 20 detailed questions about your job experience, about your preferences, about your natural talents, your income goals, right? This is for the people who are willing to take an hour or two to really thoughtfully, just right here within this document, you just go in here and you just start typing answers to these questions. So you could come here and you start typing about what's your job experience, you know, what are things that people frequently ask you for help with? What unofficial skills have you maybe picked up through the process of the things that you've done, volunteering, past jobs, etc., right? So if you take the time to really thoughtfully answer these 20 questions, so this is optional. Again, you don't have to do this. I've got a prompt here where you're just going to copy and paste your questions here, and then you're going to grab this prompt. And then you see there's a section right here to copy and paste your answers. You'll grab your answers from there, pop that into ChatGPT or Claude, and let it come back with a very personalized report for you that's very specific to your unique job experience, preferences, etc. So this will give you a much more specific, nuanced report than the general assessment. So again, if you have time, if you have interest, I don't want you to spend hours and days agonizing over what's the right one, okay? Because it's so fluid. When you first start, there's going to be so much room for you to explore, okay? So really all we're doing is we're getting a good idea for a good starting point, and that's it. So I don't want you to spend too much time overthinking this or agonizing over it, but this is a tool for you to use if you think that that might help you. All right, so let's get into your homework. So what your homework's going to be is once you do this questionnaire and you find these best fit niches, so customer service, sales and marketing, human resources, okay? And then this one was translation, customer service writing. What I want you to do is I want you to come into Upwork, and if you likely have not set up an Upwork profile yet, when you do that, I want you to go sign up for Upwork. It's completely free to sign up. And they'll take you through a wizard to like basically get you set up. So like you'll put in your email address and you put in your name and your location. As soon as you start getting into the stuff where they want you to like put a headline for your profile, fill out your profile, what are your skills that you have, don't waste your time trying to figure out what to do on all of that. Literally just write in like test or whatever the minimum amount is of characters that they make you do. Like no one's going to be looking at your profile when you first set it up. It's fine to sit that way for the next week, because when we do 10 days to paid, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do to set up your profile, exactly how to set it up step by step. Okay. So just do enough to get your account up, even though you might have gibberish in there. Okay. Literally just write test, 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 like anything. Okay. Once you get it up, you'll see it'll look kind of like what you're looking at here. I noticed they just added this. This is like an Upwork 101. So for those of you who are like chomping at the bit, excited to get started, this is a really, you can just go in here and they've got little mini trainings. So it's a good starting point. And then in the meantime, you can let these trainings as they drip out help supplement it if you want to start running. Okay. But where I want you to head is find work. And then right here, find work. Okay. I was already on the screen. So this is what the screen will look like. What I want you to do in this search bar is you're going to come in here and you're just going to put an asterisk mark. Okay. That is going to pull in every job in the system that is in here. And if you look, that is, we're up to 150, 160, right? So like somewhere between 160, 170,000 active jobs posted right now in Upwork. Okay. Right above it is the categories. So what you're going to do is you're going to open this and you're going to see that in that assessment you just did that gave you your top 3 categories to consider, you're going to see them right here. So here's accounting and consulting, here's admin support, here's customer service, here's data science and analytics, design and creative, etc. Okay. So let's say that the one that you just did suggested design and creative. And then it suggested, we'll do sales and marketing, and it suggested writing. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll come in and you'll notice at the top of each of those, there's all, but then there's also like some specializations that are within it. Right now, I don't want you to use that there to start specializing down. I want you, again, we're starting broad. So I want you to do it broad. And here is what I want you to do when you do that is I want you to, from your results, right here, you're going to open up your research worksheet. And this is what the research worksheet looks like. It's very straightforward. I don't want you to spend a ton of time on this, but this is mainly for you to start to explore and get a feel for what sounds exciting, what's of interest to you, so that we have a starting point as you get started, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to write down the category. So again, like right now, I just selected design and creative, writing, and sales and marketing, right? So as you start to go through these listings, what I want you to do is I want you to look at what this is, okay? So this one's looking for a book reviewer. This one is looking for an SEO expert specifically for e-commerce. This one is looking for voiceover and audio narrator jobs, right? So as you start to look through these, you're just going to look at the title, and I want you to quickly see if you can name what the specialization is, right? So this one, like I said, is a book reviewer. This one's an SEO person for e-commerce. This one is a voiceover audio person. This one is a sales copywriter specifically for product descriptions. This one is social media marketing on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, right? So as you start to go through this, I want you to let your, I know it sounds kind of woo-woo, but like your body is going to respond to these. And there are going to be certain ones that as you read it, where you're going to be like, ooh, like that sounds kind of interesting, or like, that could be fun, right? And it's a response, it's an emotion that is bubbling up. And so I want you to try and like feel into that as you're going through the things that you're like that could be interesting, like, because your brain knows where you already have natural skills and interests. Your brain knows where you have talents, right? And even though there may be a gap, so we're not looking for stuff that you feel confident you can do right now. We're looking for stuff that's interesting to you, right? That's the real goal, is stuff that's interesting to you, because I promise you, even if you've never done any of it a day in your life, just like I did with sales copywriting, I promise you that there's a pathway that will get you from that high level down to that specialization, and it won't be painful, and it won't require you to take years. You won't have to get a degree. So what we want to do is we want to find you something that you love doing, something that's really interesting, something that lights you up. So as you go through here, here's someone looking for a t-shirt designer. Here's someone that's looking for, that's not even very clear, TikTok shop live commerce consultant. That might be someone wanting to do live selling. And if you don't know, just keep scrolling through, right? So the goal here, the first goal, is as you start going through this pretty quickly, you're probably going to start to get a feel for like the design jobs. Like, even though you selected all three, the design jobs are not the vibe. Like, I'm not really loving design jobs, but I'm more interested in the writing, maybe some of the sales and marketing, right? And so as you start to weed out some of that, I want you to come back in here and take out. So like, I'm gonna go ahead and like take out the design and creative so that you continue to kind of refine your view. Okay. So here, let's say you look at this and you're like, you know what, the product descriptions are interesting. It's also paying 30 to 70 an hour. And like, I know with my experience, you can churn out great product descriptions all day long, literally in seconds, if you become really skilled in AI and how to prompt AI to write it so that it's not robotic and using really good sales frameworks, right? But again, learning process, you have to get there eventually. But to be able to get paid $37 an hour, churn something out really fast, that's potentially a good thing that you're interested in. So as you're going through, what I want you to do is I want you to keep track here and say, okay, in the writing category, the specialization is product descriptions. Okay. And then what I want you to do when you find one like that you're interested in is I want you to come up here and I want you to just type in product descriptions. And then maybe because, okay. And so part of why I did this was because I want you to see that over here, there are 10 jobs right now posted that are live specific to doing product descriptions. Okay. That's less than what I thought it would be. And so you're going to do that on purpose so that you can keep track of, is this a high demand job? Like, are there a lot of jobs for it? Or is it so specialized that there's very few, right? And then I also want you to look at, when you do that, what's the pay range that people, so this one's 30 to 70. Not all of them are going to post, and you'll also see some flat fees. So like this one's $35. And because this one doesn't have a ton, we're probably not going to have a whole lot. Here's 30 to 35. Yeah. So we know though that at least of this, about $30 to $70 an hour is what the pay range is. And this is more just for you to have reference so that you can start to weed through what might be a good specialization, what is interesting to you. So again, you're not going to come out the gate and you're going to offer these, but then I also want you to think about product description. So like, what skills or tools would be required to do that? So either you need to know how to write product descriptions, right? If you decide you want to use AI as a tool, you might need, sorry, bear with me here. AI, you might need an AI subscription if you're going to do high volume of AI output. And really, other than that, you need probably access to like Google Docs or Word, so that anytime you do copywriting, you're going to deliver that in a Word document back to them. Okay. So you're just going to kind of sit with that and just think through what would be the skills or the tools that I'm going to need in order to do this. And then what are your current gaps? So based on that, maybe you already know how to write product descriptions, but maybe you need to find some framework templates to start with, right? And you could even have AI create these for you. Maybe you need an AI subscription that you don't have yet. Those right now, I think about $20 a month is where a lot of those fall. One of the things you're going to have me teach you pretty frequently is that I feel like one of my strongest skill sets that got me from where I was to where I am was being willing and excited to use AI and to become really skilled at using AI, because AI can really help you, one, cut down on the length of time it takes to do something. Two, it basically is like having an assistant right next to you that can help fill all the gaps that you have. It can coach you through things. It can give you the resources that you need. So it's probably one of the best $20 that you'll spend on your business, which is way better than spending $1,000 or $2,000 on a course that likely won't get you a return. That $20 a month will easily help you make hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every month in freelance work. And part of what I'm going to teach you through many of these teachings, that's just going to be like a side bonus, is that I rely so heavily on AI that you are naturally going to learn AI skills as we do this. Okay. So you'll do your current gaps. And then if you want to take any extra notes. Okay. So let me take this one step further. I'm just going to go to writing here, just to, again, make this kind of easier. Right now it's still in product descriptions. Let's go back to the high level. Okay, so here's where I just want to give you more variety so you can get an idea. So as you start to hone in, you'll likely get down to one category you're kind of feeling, maybe two for some of you. But as you get into that one category, let's just look through a few of these. So a business plan writer, right? There's going to be so many things that you never even thought about doing. And it's not that you need to know how to do business plan writing. It's just, does that sound interesting to you? Would you find it fun to write someone's business plans? Because the path to learn that is very easy, I promise. Okay. So business plan writing. This is, and sometimes people's titles are not great. So like, I don't even know specifically without getting into what they're asking for, what they're looking for there. This one's looking for a proofreader. There's a lot of this, people who do AI generated posts and then want someone else to come in behind them and help edit, proofread, fact check, right? So like, is that of interest? A fiction book reviewer, long form SEO guide. So that's basically blog post, article writing, right? Academic writer, blogs, product descriptions and campaigns, a product copywriter for engaging descriptions, SaaS documentation, so technical writing. So that's for people who want to be more factual, like you're writing how-tos or step-by-steps, policies, that sort of thing. Okay, that's a whole different category within copywriting. So as you go through, I was looking to see one of the ones that I see a lot, which I think is an interesting niche if you're interested in writing. Yeah, there was one, is resumes. I see a lot of that. So like just outside of the typical ones, when people think of writing, they think of like blog posts or sales writing. But I see a lot of people that want just like resume or doing like their bios on LinkedIn. So that would be a good example of maybe that one catches your eye and you're interested. I want you to come in and start typing in keywords like resume writing, right? And so then you can start to look at what's the range of things coming up for that. So like here's an executive resume writer that's paying $50 to $100 an hour. Here's cover letters and a resume for $500. Here's a LinkedIn specialist writing people's pages and optimizing it, 25 to 150. So this is a niche that pays really well. And that's the sort of stuff that I want you, as you start to explore, is one, are you interested in it? But two, I want you looking at like, what's the income potential? And is there a lot of interest in this like specific niche? Okay. So when I typed in resume, where did it go? Yeah. When I typed in resume up here underneath writing, what you're going to notice is now we've got a lot more jobs that came up compared to last time, right? So now we've got 80, 100, 126, 130. So we have more than 130 here, right? So we've got 130 jobs here. They are paying between like 30 to 150 an hour. And this is for, and that's just one keyword. One of the things you're going to learn that's part of what that AI prompts for is it's going to help you come up with varied keywords to search to find your specific sorts of jobs. And as you start to specialize and earn contracts and get reviews, Upwork is an algorithm just like social media where it's going to start to serve up for you so you won't have to search as hard. So again, remember, it's more of a grind when you start. It gets easier as you go. So as you do that, it's going to start just naturally being like, oh, they're really good and people like to hire them to write resumes or LinkedIn or whatever. And then it's just going to, when you land on this page, when you come to the find work, down below, it's just going to serve up for you all sorts of jobs without you having to go hunt for them as hard as you may be hunting for them when you first start. Okay. So that's the homework. All of that starts from this profiler. So I'm going to drop that link below for you. I want you to play around with the profiler. Be open, guys. Like when we start 10 days to paid next week, what you're going to find is it's going to be surprising to you what those first jobs are that you're going to apply for. Okay, I'm going to keep that a secret for now, but a big part of starting is it's going to be messy, it's going to be a lot of exploring, and it is the best time for you to explore because you're just getting started. So you're not like hurting anything by exploring, and the whole idea is we're going to start messy at the top, and then we're going to refine and get specialized as you work your way down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share on this. Make sure that you grab that, that link down below. I would love to see your results. So if you haven't yet popped into our group chat, I know we're a small group right now, but hop into the group chat, drop your results. I'd be happy to help give you some feedback, especially if you're struggling with any of this tutorial. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope you found this helpful. And again, next week, I'll be back with our 10 days to paid, where we're going to help you land your very first client, get your first 5-star review. I'm really excited for you guys to get started with this. And I'm going to walk you through every little detail that you need to know. Okay. So your first step is start to explore, set up your initial profile. Don't overthink it. Start to look at the options that are out there just so you can start to figure out where you think you might fit. And I'll be back next week. So make sure that you sign up for the wait list for 10 days to paid. And we're going to kick that off and start helping you get your very first freelance people next week. I'm so excited. Again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys next week.